Hi, welcome back to Simple Sundays. I apologise for the week's delay, but today I present to you the Gameboy Colour game Ballistic, created for the arcades by the Mitchell Corporation with the name Puzz Loop. This was changed back to Ballistics for its PlayStation and Game Boy Colour releases, which was the original title of the game before being launched in arcades in 1998 and in home in 1999 when it came to all the other systems. So the object of the game is to tackle a loop of differently coloured balls and to look to match at least 3 balls, which if achieved will take them away from the loop, and if this connects to 3 other identical balls then those will also go in a chain, with this being the key to a good score and beating each loop that the game presents. It's a simple title, but one I found myself playing for many hours after discovery, just because the simple loop tackling is a brilliant brain teaser. But I was also addicted to the puzzle mode, which for me is the best in the Game Boy Colour version, and it's precisely because of the limitation differences between the ports. So the arcade and PlayStation version show an entire loop, something the Game Boy Colour couldn't actually do, and so the puzzle mode in the Game Boy Colour version is a very precise game of limited balls placed in exactly the right place, and teaches about the entire chain system in the game, whereas the original just asks you to eliminate the loop with far more room for error. But for me, the punishment is worth it to learn how to play this game properly. And I would advise doing this actually first to learn the game to its fullest, that way taking on the more endless mode will be better to do so. Outside of this, there's really just the standard versus and arcade modes. The thing about these sort of games is they're about the enjoyment of short journeys. So to take a look back into the past, and if I had this at the time, I would certainly have enjoyed it a great deal. This would have been perfect sort of fodder to take and play for maybe an hour or two, quite honestly. Just relaxing on a journey from work, journey to in the back of the car when you were younger. And I think that given it live quarter of a century ago, it's held up pretty well, and for me the Game Boy Colour port is actually the best one. The graphics might be slightly limited, but I do think the limitations add an extra charm. It's where the audio also takes a huge step. I think, to be honest, despite its limitations, the Game Boy Colour's way more limited sort of soundtrack, chiptune soundtrack, is far better than the arcade's actual original, or the one on PlayStation which I'm showing here. Because that is just really noisy without actually having much quality to the soundtrack. To me it's basically an audible nightmare, to be honest, and I listen to some pretty obscure things.
What a tease, what a tease, what a tease, tease it up, what a
Attack here, the crack here.
In terms of the graphics, there's not really much to say. It's a simple puzzle game. It's presented very cleanly, but that's about as much as I can say. It's not exactly an exemplarily beautiful title, not even to the equivalent of something like Puzzle Bobble, or Bust-A-Move, which has a much more beautiful cartoon aesthetic. This is a very much simpler game. Anyways, I won't ramble along anymore, but I hope you had a great weekend. Next weekend, Football Match of the Day returns with 5 games. Are any of them good? Next week we'll tell. But I hope to see you then, and thank you very much for watching. Take care.